So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, Kell Brook and Chris Eubank. It looks like the fight's edging closer. Kell Brook's had some interesting things to say. This is what Kell Brook had to say, which was quite a blow at Eubank. He goes, Kell Brook says Chris Eubank can't box as he provides negotiation update. He goes, he can't box. I will beat him, says Kell Brook. Okay, let's go through what he's had to say. He said he needs to be more real about the money. Brook told White and Jordan, I don't want him to price himself out. I'm the A side. I've been in this game all my life. I've struggled from the bottom, making myself mandatory world champion. I'm the A side, so it has to be real. I have many options, so I don't need Eubank. Eubank needs me. Regarding the fight itself, all I have to do is beat Chris Eubank. All I have to do to beat Chris Eubank is show up. I've been boxing all my life. He can't box, in my opinion. We know he can't fight, and he's got a good engine. He's got a good chin. But look what Billy Joe done. I'm not going to put myself at a disadvantage, he explained. I'm the A side. I'm going to give them anything. I'm not going to give them anything. He didn't prove anything to me in his career. I think his best win to date is against Liam Williams, and also what happened in his training camp. Taking nothing away from Chris Eubank, he boxed him and beat him. But if he hadn't had the knockdowns, would he have still won the fight? So there you go. Kell Brook gives his take on this Chris Eubank. I don't agree with a lot of things that he's saying, to be honest. Like, no disrespect to Kell Brook. You know, Kell Brook is a better fighter, in my opinion, than Eubank. I think he's a more skilled fighter. But really, when you look at Kell Brook's career, what's he really done? He says he come from the bottom up. But who's he really beat? He's beat Sean Porter, that's it. So he's got one good win on his record. You know, apart from that, if you look at all the other names on there, he hasn't really beaten anybody. You know, you could even say, you know, Eubank's beaten, got a better resume than him, apart from the Porter win, which is obviously a standout win. And it's not just a good win, but it's also a good win from any British fighter, really, that win that he had against Porter. I'm not a huge fan of Porter, but it's still a good win. It's a solid win for Brook. But apart from that, he hasn't really done anything or beat anybody. Eubank, although Eubank's beat a lot of washed up guys, De Gale and Arthur Abraham, you know, if you look at Eubank's resume, it's probably better than Kell Brook's resume. Even though he's beaten washed up guys, who's Kell Brook beat? Nobody. Beat Porter and beat a washed up Khan, which, come on, man. You know, that's about it, really. But when you look at Brook's career, he's not really beaten a lot of guys. You know, it's a bit like Kell Brook beating Khan was like Eubank beating De Gale, really. It was washed up, you know what I mean? And it was even worse because Khan's smaller than Brook. So, you know, Kell's not really done a lot as well. So you can't really criticize Eubank and say he's not really done a lot in his career. You know, yeah, for me, he's a better boxer out of the two. But that doesn't, you know, I don't think he can go around, you know, talking about Eubank losing to Billy Joe, who's a guy that was a champion at 168, you know, and what did Billy Joe do to him? Nothing. Billy Joe didn't do anything to him. It was a split decision, loss. So when Kell Brook says, well, look what Billy, like, to be honest with you, Eubank gets disrespected a lot. I don't think he's as bad. I don't think, you know, he's a great fighter or anything, but I don't think he's as bad as what people make him out to be. And I think Kell's going to learn the hard way when he gets in the ring with him, because Eubank's going to really batter him. You watch. And all these fanboys, you know, Brook fanboys that come into my comment section, give me grief. You watch what will happen when they fight. You know, Eubank's tall, he's fast. If Eubank fights the way he did of old, he absolutely obliterates Kell Brook. My brother's right. If he boxes Kell Brook and looks to do what, you know, he did with Liam Williams, he might make the fight a bit tricky for himself. But yeah, I don't think Kell Brook is going to beat Chris Eubank. When he says all I have to do is turn up, he can't box, I think Kell Brook's going to have a rude awakening if he thinks Eubank can't box. Kell Brook has a style which actually would suit Eubank, because Kell Brook likes to have a fight. He likes to have a tear-up. And Eubank, anyone that comes to Eubank likes to have a scrap, you know, could be in trouble. Yeah, Kell Brook has a good jab and that's all good, but Kell Brook likes to have a fight, and that'll suit Eubank, because if Eubank gets stuck in and they both go toe-to-toe, there's only one man that's going to come out on top, and that's going to be Eubank, not Kell Brook. So in terms of him being the A side, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how, like, it's a nothing type of fight. It's not like either one's a champion. Who cares who's the A side? You know, is Kell Brook really an A side? Is he a bigger star, a bigger name than Chris Eubank? You know, yeah, he's been a world champion. He's more accomplished out of the two. He's got a better win out of the two. But I don't know if is he a bigger name than Kell Brook? Is he Kell Brook a bigger name than Chris Eubank? I don't know. I don't know. Does Kell Brook bring a lot more in terms of fan base and in terms of more to the table? I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think Kell Brook's a huge star by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think he probably deserves the A side here, because I think he's more accomplished out of the two, and I don't think Eubank's that big a star either, to be honest. So I think Kell Brook probably deserves to be the A side in this, but not by much. Not by much. Look, I think Kell Brook wants to dictate terms, and obviously Eubank is not somebody that's going to be dictated to. Eubank is somebody he believes he's a massive star. You know, some of the fans think Eubank's quite delusional, but he is a big name. He is a big name, and the most importantly, Eubank's made a lot of money. So Kell's got to be realistic, and when Kell says he's got a lot of options on the table, he hasn't got a lot of options on the table. He's got no one on the table. He's potentially got a Khan rematch that, you know, might not be on the table. And then he's got a Conor Benn fight, you know, which he priced himself out, really. You know, I think Brook's trying to cash in. And listen, fair play to him, you know. He's trying to cash in, but don't be asking for 10 million against Conor Benn, a prospect. Like, come on. You know, and even Dominic Ingle was trying to justify them trying to ask for 10 million. Like, come on, you ain't getting 10 million. You know, Kell Brook's never made that kind of money. You know, he made 4 million to fight Golovkin. I bet he probably made about 2 or 3 million to fight Khan. You know, so there's like Kell Brook asking for 10 million to fight Conor Benn, who, by the way, isn't that big a star. You know, where he's an Anthony Joshua, you know, and even if he was an Anthony Joshua, they couldn't afford to pay Kell Brook 10 million. You know, for a non-title, you know, kind of fight, in a fight which a lot of people don't even think is that competitive. A lot of people think Kell Brook's way past his best and Conor Benn's going to blow through him. You know, so yeah, I think that's like a bit pricing yourself out of a fight. So if there's anyone that's going to price themselves, it's maybe Kell Brook over winning against Amir Khan, thinking that he's now all of a sudden a big shot. You know, which against these type of guys, Conor Benn, Eubank, he probably is. He probably is, because neither of these guys are that accomplished. They're kind of living in their dad's names at the minute. They haven't really done anything that separated themselves from their dad's name. And someone like Kell Brook is right, where he's come up the hard way. Like, he's not had a leg up, has he? You know, he's had to do it himself. He never had a dad that was a famous guy. He had to make his name for himself. But in terms of him thinking that he's some kind of big shot now after beating Amir Khan, come on, you know. Fair enough if he had beaten Terence Crawford, then, you know, you could say, yeah, fair play to him. But, you know, beating Amir Khan is not, by, you know, any stretch, especially that version of Khan, definitely doesn't mean that, you know, you some kind of big shot now. I find it a bit funny that he beats Amir Khan and all of a sudden people think Kell Brook's like reborn. Like, we saw him against Crawford. Crawford banged him out in 3-4 rounds. So how all of a sudden has Kell Brook just become reborn? Like, he's ready to take on the world again. He's like a top welterweight. Kell Brook's not even a top 10 welterweight. He's not even a top 15 welterweight, probably. You know, beating Amir Khan, who's probably not a top 40 welterweight at this point, doesn't mean anything. You know, so yeah, I'm shocked at how many people even think that the fight with Eubank is even competitive. I don't even think it's competitive. Like, it's competitive for the first couple of rounds, and it's competitive if Eubank lets it be competitive. And what I mean is, if Eubank goes and tries to box the way he did against Williams, then I think Brook could cause him trouble. And if he boxes like that for the whole fight, he may even lose the fight. But if he boxes the way he did early on in his career, like he did with Billy Joe, putting pressure and letting his hands go, there's no way Kell Brook wins this fight, because he's just too big. And Kell Brook can't hurt Eubank. He's not even a big puncher at welterweight. How's he going to hurt a middleweight, a guy that has a good chin at middleweight? Eubank's never been hurt or dropped or not. Like, He's got a good chin at middleweight. So what makes people think that he's going to beat, you know, Eubank? It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. I'm just shocked that after all of a sudden people think that Kell Brook's ready to go on to beat everybody now. You know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I would have him on underdog against Eubank and Ben, to be honest. I'm just finding it a little bit strange. Like, look. Yeah, man, I find it really strange that people seem to think that, you know, he's going to beat Eubank. I don't see it. Yeah, he can box him. He can definitely outbox him for a couple of rounds. That's if Eubank lets him, because if Eubank puts on pressure, lets his hand go, Kell Brook's going to be in serious trouble. You know, because this is not a smaller shot to bits Khan. This is a bigger, younger, fresher, hungrier, more durable Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah, Eubank Jr. is not a great boxer. Yeah, we know that. But who has Kell Brook beat of late that, you know, is better than Chris Eubank? Who has Chris Eubank beat? I mean, who has Kell Brook beat? Like, you could probably say Kell Brook's not beaten anybody better than Eubank in his whole career. You know, the only win was against Sean Porter, but that was about 10 years ago. So who's he really beaten that's better than Chris Eubank? Nobody, really. He hasn't beaten anyone, really. Yeah, if he had beaten a prime Khan, that would have been a fighter that, you know, would have been... But even Khan, the one that he beat now, isn't better than Eubank. You know, so, like, apart from Porter, and even Porter's more of a pressure fighter. A different type of style to Eubank. And Porter doesn't have quick hands like that. It's different. And most importantly, Eubank's big. Eubank's big. Eubank's massive. So I only see this fight playing out one way, to be brutally honest with you. Like, I don't see this being that competitive. But I think Kell Brook's probably trying to make as much money as possible, because I think he knows that he's trying to, you know, cash in on him beating Amir Khan, because now Kell Brook's kind of, because of coming off such a big fight. Even though it wasn't a fight relevant at world level, it was a big fight. It was hyped up, promoted well. He's trying to take advantage by trying to cash out. But, you know, Kell Brook's going to get battered in his next fight. I'm sorry to say, to his certain fanboys might not like it, but he's going to get battered. But, yeah, he'll get a few quid for it. You know, if he chooses Conor Benn, I don't see him winning that fight. If he chooses Chris Eubank, I don't see him winning that fight. So, you know what? It's probably better for Kell Brook to kind of cash in when he can. Personally, I would have liked to see him fight Danny Garcia. I think that would have been a great fight, you know. And I know some of you said, well, they made Danny Garcia an offer. Well, that offer was probably rubbish. You know, what's to say that offer was great? You know, come on. You know, Kell Brook's not an A-side against Danny Garcia, is he? You know, Kell Brook is not calling shots against Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is a far more accomplished fighter, achieved far more than Kell Brook, done far more things than Kell Brook in the sport of boxing. Far better resume, you know, far more well-known, in my opinion, you know. So, you know, I don't really see how, you know, Kell Brook can, like, determine or dictate to Garcia, you know, what happens in that fight. You know, or how that fight goes down. I'm pretty sure Garcia has some kind of say. Because for me, Garcia would be the A-side in that fight. He's more well-known. He's boxed in more... He's boxed, you know, in America, in the most iconic venues over there. For me, he's probably made more money. He's also had a better career. So, yeah, I agree. Kell Brook is the A-side against Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. But not against someone like Danny Garcia. So, but that's the kind of fight that improves your legacy, because Kell Brook beating Ben or Eubank isn't going to really do anything, because they're not stellar fighters. Beating Garcia, who's had a very accomplished career, who's been a unified champion at 140 and been a welterweight world champion, and also would probably be favourite against you if they were to fight. You know, bookies would have Garcia a favourite. You beating him adds to your legacy, adds another accomplished name on your record. You know, because now if he beats Porter, then he's got Khan, and then he's got Garcia. His resume, which is very thin and bleak, starts to look a little bit better. And then who knows, if he beats Garcia, he'll get another big fight. But the point is, at this point, I don't think Kell Brook is looking at it like that. He's just looking at it, I want to get the most money possible, which is fair enough. Fair enough. But I don't like the Eubank fight, because I think it's a kind of nothing fight. I don't think it's a fight he can win. A Garcia fight is a more winnable fight, in the sense it's a guy his size, right? The Ben fight is a winnable fight. Some people think Kell Brook beats Ben. You know, that's also a good fight. You know, I would like to see Kell Brook take Conor Benn, but I just think Kell Brook probably looks at it and thinks that if I get beat by Conor Benn, who's a small, like my size or smaller than me, it'll be a bit more humiliating. Whereas if I lose to Chris Eubank, firstly, Eubank might be a bigger payday. Secondly, at least I can make an excuse about he was a bigger guy. And again, Kell Brook did that with Golovkin. So he'll have another excuse. But losing to Ben, there won't be any excuses. Especially Ben said he'll be willing to fight him at 150. So if Ben destroys Kell Brook, then the problem is Kell Brook's not going to really have any excuses. Do you see what I mean? Whereas if he fights Eubank and gets battered by Eubank, he can make an excuse that he was just too big. And going off the way Kell Brook's maneuvered his career, that's why I think that is going to be the option. Because if he loses and takes another loss, then he's got an excuse to why he lost. The guy was just too big. You know, like the same way with the Spence fight. That Spence, you know, I was coming back down from middleweight. I had a broken eye socket. Then 4 years later, he fights Crawford at welterweight. Oh, well, I was drained. Do you see what I mean? So there's always excuses. So there'll be another excuse if he loses to Eubank. He was just too big. You know, and his fanboys will, you know, obviously jump onto that and say, well, yeah, well, he was just too, you know, Eubank was too big. So to be honest with you, like, I think the fight that he should be looking to make and if he wants to, he'll make a few quid in it, and also it'll be a legacy fight, is the Garcia fight. You know, but don't say, oh, he made an offer to him. You know, what offer? You know, Garcia's not even said anything about it. What offer did they make to Garcia? You know, this is what I mean. Because otherwise, if it was a serious offer, surely Garcia would have spoke about it. You know, he probably didn't offer him enough money. You know, you've got to offer Garcia. And this is what I'm saying. Brook at this point in his career is not really at that stage where he's going to be, he wants as much money as possible. And with someone like Danny Garcia, Kell Brook is not the A-side. Kell Brook is not somebody that can dictate against Danny Garcia, because Garcia's made a lot of money. He's a very wealthy guy, and he's more accomplished and a better career than Kell Brook. So they can't really dictate to Garcia. But with Eubank and Ben, they can dictate, because Kell Brook's had a more accomplished career so far than those two. And you can argue he's coming off a big win in British Shores against Khan, which was a very big fight. So he can take advantage of that. And that's why, and he'll get, if he gets the lion's share, he'll get more money. So he'll take advantage. He'll get a big payday. Whereas with Garcia, he's probably not going to get that. So I can see why the reluctancy to probably pursue that fight and pursue a Eubank and Ben fight, because he's going to be the A-side in those fights where he probably gets the lion's share. You know, although I don't think it will be a case where, you know, he can literally pull their pants down, like Khan probably did with him, because of the fact that those two also are big names because of what their fathers were. So I don't think he'll be able to like completely dictate to them, because they wouldn't allow that. So he'd have to make concessions as well. But I think they'd be willing to probably bend a little bit for him, because they probably think it's a big payday to fight Kell Brook. And both of them will probably look at Kell Brook as an easy payday. They probably think that will beat him easy. So I think both of them will probably give a little bit. Eubank, I don't know, because Eubank's probably got other options. He probably could fight other guys. But at this point, I think he probably looks at Kell Brook as a big payday and probably an easy fight. So it's one that he's going to pursue. I think you've got to criticize Eubank as well, because why fight Kell Brook? What does that do? You know, it's just a payday. It's just a payday, really. You know, it doesn't do anything for you in terms of your legacy or in terms of you getting a title shot. You know, so yeah. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about this fight. Let me know what you think about Kell Brook saying he's a better boxer and he would, you know, he would beat Eubank. Leave your thoughts and let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.